everybody, to Matt Goes to the Movies, but not any old episode here tonight, so to speak. This is kicking off part 4. The fourth part of a new really idea here for Matt Goes to the Movies, where we'll actually be talking about video games. Normally, it's movies galore here at Matt Goes to the Movies, but we thought it would be a really cool thing to talk about something that touches a lot of people, that, you know, is one of the most popular mediums in the world. So we are here to start breaking down our top 100 video games, and with that, this is a big undertaking. I could not do that by myself. So tonight I am joined by Rob, who a lot of you will know from previous episodes, and my son Brandon, who helped me out with Final Fantasy Advent Children, which was a really successful episode and a really cool one to do. So Rob, I'll start with you, man. Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to join this. This was something that when you first pitched it, I was like, hell yeah, sign me up for that. I think about some of the hobbies that I've had over my lifetime. Other than reading, I can't think of any hobbies I have that I have devoted more of my life to than video games. And maybe even more so. Like I've been playing video games actually before I could read, so they probably have a longer history with me. It sounded like an incredible idea, kind of a lot of nostalgia, a lot of a trip through memory lane. And then I had to actually start ranking these things, and I started pulling my hair out. And I swear to God, Matt, this is the single hardest thing you have ever asked me to do. And you have asked me to rewatch X-Men Origins Wolverine. You have asked me to rewatch Justice League and Batman v Superman and Daredevil, for God's sake. And this was even harder for me to do than rewatch any of that crap. So, man, ultimately, it's a labor of love, and I'm really excited to these next 4 episodes.
Yeah, it certainly was interesting to think of 100 games. And okay, where do I really want to put these, and what did these mean to me? And just the overall thought process of, well, where does it fall on the list? Does it fall on the list because of great gameplay, great graphics, great story? Or does it fall on the level, and is it high because of, what might have been going on in your life? And, maybe the reason why you got this game, was it a gift? Whatever the case may be. Maybe was it the first game that you ever actually bought on your own, and that meant something to you? There's a lot of different variables that I know went into my list as to why these things are ranked the way they are, which I think some of them will be rather surprising. And we're going to have some really big discrepancies, I think, on some of the games on our list for some of those varying reasons. But before we get into that, Brandon, welcome to you too. This was your idea. This was your brainchild to have this.
Yeah, I was the one who pitched video games even coming on here in the first place. So it's pretty nice to come back and really do this idea with you guys.
Yeah. Now, listeners too, we do just want to make a quick announcement. If you've been following social media, which I've seen a lot of, action on the post and likes. So one thing of note for this episode, we were going to have Harrison from the Basement Binge with us. Unfortunately, he could not join us tonight. He will be back with us for part 3, part 2, and part 1 of this series. So, we'll certainly look forward to having him back. But if you were looking forward to having him part of this episode, unfortunately, he could not make it with us, but he will be back. So just wanted to make sure that, we address that right out of the gate here. So,
the last time that Harrison had to skip out on us for something, we told him that he needed to review Catwoman, which you ended up doing instead.
Yeah.
So I think for skipping out on this, he either needs to play E.T. for the Atari, or my other idea is just loop the water level for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original NES game. Those are the 2 options. I think you should have to do one of those 2 for skipping out on us.
I think that original Turtles game might be responsible for producing serial killers. Like, good Lord, that thing, what a pain that was. But, listeners, if you're a repeat viewer to Matt Goes to the Movie, I should say listener, if you're a repeat listener to Matt Goes to the Movies, this will be totally different than what you're used to. There won't be the traditional segments that we do because it really does not play into the flow of this episode. So completely new. And if you are joining the show for the first time based on this topic that we're covering, welcome. I hope you're as excited as we are. Like I said, social media pages that we've posted on have had some pretty good traction of people that seemed interested in this. So, when this episode's done and this is, when you're listening to this, go in the comments, post where you have your 100 through 75, what we'll be, talking about tonight, and let us know what you think of our list. It's always exciting. So, Rob, what we're going to do is, you guys know the format, 100 through 75. At the end of this episode, we will talk about our least favorite controller and our favorite controller as a cap. But to get us started, Rob, let's go through 100 through 95. We're each going to take a chance to do 5 games at a time and let the show flow that way. So the floor is yours to start with number 100. Mr. Irrelevant, if you're a fan of the NFL.
Yeah. So to try to start, man, I'm going to be 40 this summer. So I go way back to, I actually played some original Atari games. I grew up with the NES in my house. So my list is really going all the way back. And I think you'll kind of see it reflects that as we go. So number 100 for me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, 99, The Legend of Zelda, 98, Mega Man 2. Does not hold up anywhere near like you remember it. Don't even bother trying to go back and play it because it's ridiculously hard. But just for nostalgia purposes, it's on my list because I spent a lot of time playing that game. 97, Tetris. 96, Dr. Mario. 2 phenomenal, old school, classic puzzle games. 100% hold up to this day. Spent a lot of time just playing both of those games. They're just fun. They're simple. Anybody can pick it up. Quick sidebar on these, and this is something I'm sure we'll continue to talk about, but the idea of who a gamer is continues to evolve. Yeah. For the longest time, gaming as a hobby was seen as, nerdy guys that are overweight with tape on their glasses and acne sitting in their basement of their mom's house drinking Mountain Dew. Like that was the stereotype of the gamer. And Dr. Mario and Tetris really are 2 games that began that crumbling of who a gamer is. I can remember my great aunt, while she was still with us, owned a Game Boy. She was in her 60s and owned a Game Boy when those were first on the market. And she only played Dr. Mario. That was like the only game she played for. And she loved it. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, that this retired school teacher sat around playing Dr. Mario. I just thought that was the awesomest thing. And I've got some other games on my list that sort of fall into that category. But those 2 are just all-time classics. Anybody can pick up and play. And I'm going to end the first 5 with Wolfenstein at 95. The original first-person shooter. We as gamers owe so much to Wolfenstein. That we can't even begin to calculate it, but was a lot of fun. Began cheat codes, really, as kind of a common thing that we expected in gaming. And we owe a lot to it. So it's a classic piece of history, and I enjoyed playing it on PC.
Yeah, I'm going to let Brandon cap off this part. I'll go next. I will say a quick jump into the future here. I am going to say that without a shadow of a doubt, Turtles in Time will be the biggest number discrepancy that we have on this show. It will 100% be the biggest gap that any of us have on our list.
Yeah. Where you put yours and where he put his, oh my God. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So, starting for me, I'm going right out of the gate with 3 oldies. At number 100 is Excitebike. 99, Marble Madness.
Mm.
98, Blades of Steel.
Mm.
97, and this might be a big discrepancy too, Goldeneye.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. I think wow, we've only been recording for 10 minutes and we just had our last Jedi moment.
96 is Mortal Kombat 11 and 95 is Tetris. So
Ooh.
a lot of old games there in the end. I recognize some great games. Tetris obviously was just a huge, phenomenal hit. Obviously, I know GoldenEye has just a huge following and some really, really big fans. I recognize how monumental that game was at the time and what it really offered, but I also never really got into it as much as my friends did. I kind of had fun with it through them, so it wasn't probably the experience that everybody else had with GoldenEye. And one just kind of, I think, not particularly, it's not crazy interesting, but Mortal Kombat 11. I do have another Mortal Kombat game on this list. I just really finished up completely MK11, a really good game, a really solid fighter, and something I enjoy a ton. But really, the appeal of these games now is that online multiplayer fight. Well, not multiplayer, but online fighting. And that's just not something that I am good at. So, really, once the one player experience is done in those games, I'm done. I don't particularly enjoy hopping online and winning one match to every 20 that I lose. I probably would not have long hair or any hair. I'd probably be bald to the roots from ripping it out. So a good game, but again, a lot of these things, once that single player experience ends for me, that's where the game completely ends. So I can't say that it is I get any longevity out of it. So Brandon, cap us off with the first 5.
All right, I feel really bad for calling number 100 Mr. Irrelevant, considering what happened to the entire franchise, the game itself, which is really good. It's my first shooter I think I ever really played, and it's Titanfall 2. 99 is the Hyrule Warriors for the Wii U. 98 is Kirby Star Allies. 97 is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. 96 is the original Sonic. And 95 is Guilty Gear XR 2.
Oh, geez, I might have to correct my statement because Sonic is going to be a pretty big gap on this list too.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting, you'll really see over the course of these lists, and this was something that really occurred to me as I was making this. If you are a person who's just really into one particular game franchise, you'll kind of see that as you go. You'll also see as you go if you're somebody that kind of skipped out on a complete console generation. So for example, I don't really have much on here that is from the Sega consoles because I never owned a single Sega console.
Wow.
I have never owned a Sega console. I have owned every single Nintendo console, including the Virtual Boy, with the exception of Wii U. I never actually owned a PlayStation until I got my PSP, and then I owned the PS3 all the way, and then I got a PS4 right after that. So I completely skipped the original PlayStation and PS2, although I played a lot of the crossover ones. So I think that'll kind of be one of the major differentiating factors is, if you're somebody who really got into Resident Evil, and I know both you guys are really into Final Fantasy. I kind of stopped being into Final Fantasy when they went to PlayStation exclusives. So I think that'll kind of show in these lists. And I think that just shows the great diversity in the kinds of experiences that are available in interactive entertainment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, what you said about not owning a console, I think is something for, a future episode is one of the recaps here in part 3, part 2, or part 1. Is there a system that you regret not owning? I think could be an interesting conversation, because I know
Yeah.
that I do have one that I actually regret not picking up. So that could be something that we discuss as well. But let's go in the same order. Rob, you're gonna take us. We got 94, and then on. Take it away with the next list.
Yeah, so starting right at 94, I pick right back up in the old school PC shooters with Doom. Once again, another game that we owe so much to. 93, Saints Row 3. I really feel like the series hit its stride here. I've enjoyed the first three. The third one just pushed all its chips in on the zaniness, and it made it work, and it was nuts, and I loved it. 92, I'm going to go Street Fighter 2 Turbo. A lot of my early entries are really paying homage to the classics that without some of these games, we wouldn't have the modern face of gaming that we know. 91 is a kind of a niche title from the original Nintendo Entertainment System called Jackal. I don't know that a lot of listeners, this is a deep cut. I don't know how many listeners would really remember this one, but like you said, Matt, some of our lists are very much just based on nostalgic. And I think that's a large part of this hobby is the nostalgia, the fun you remember. I can't tell you every game I've ever played. I can't tell you every level I've ever beat or a ton of details about, everything, but I can remember having fun playing these games with my friends. I can remember having a great time playing these games with my younger brother, Eric, who is occasionally on this channel. And my dad. And Jackal was a game that the three of us played as a kid. Growing up, you drive around as a Jeep. By the way, if you ever get a chance to check it out, I highly recommend it. You drive around as a Jeep, and you throw grenades, and then the grenades upgrade to missiles. It's really just a lot of fun. And I think when you go back to some of these original NES titles, particularly if you own a Nintendo Switch, you have the opportunity to get the NES Virtual Console. You realize some of these old games, while they are incredibly hard, they didn't have things like advanced storytelling capabilities, so they had to focus on just fun mechanics in order to sell the game. And for me, my entries that are from the 8-bit era are the ones that really do focus on just fun mechanics, because that's all they had to work with. And Jackal kind of represents that for me. 90, here we go. You guys ready for this one?
Ready.
Angry Birds.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put Angry Birds on my list. And I spent a lot of time playing this game. I think when you look at the place in history that this game occupies, it comes out right as the smartphone kind of takeover of technology and communication really takes off.
Yes.
And everybody was into it. Now, all of a sudden, like I had said in my last kind of 5 games, the idea of who a gamer is and isn't begins to erode. And now there is such a high percentage of women who are considered gamers and such a high percentage of overall gamers who are women. And we have things like Candy Crush, Words with Friends, Angry Birds, and a bunch of other games that I'm probably missing to thank for that. It's a simple mechanic. It's fun. You can pick it up. You can set it down. You can do it while you're waiting in line at the bank. Just a lot of fun. Again, a simple mechanic, but executed really well. Really challenges the brain and has a lot of replay value to try to get 3 stars in every level. So I got Angry Birds at 90. And I would be shocked if anybody else had that on their list.
That'll be interesting to see here. Because again, we're going to have to at least get, even if it's just posted in the show notes, we'll have to get Harrison's 100 through 75 on the show, for us to see and for listeners to see what, he's got going on there. But I'm going to go next. 94 for me, Silent Hill, one of the, real mainstream horror series that really has kind of lost its footing. And I know a lot of people would like to see come back. I have that. 93, maybe this one will be not controversial. That's putting too much emphasis on it. Watch Dogs. Supposed to be really revolutionary, was really interesting, but incredibly repetitive. But still, I had a lot of hype for this game, and it still was very interesting to me to play. Number 92 for me, Metroid Prime, which I think some people might think is a little bit low. 91, No Man's Sky, a game that I think has made huge strides and fulfilled a lot of promises. And I recognize like how crazy it is, how far it's come with all the free updates that they provided, but just it's too involved for me. It's too much for me to actually really, really enjoy. But the scope of it, everything that they've done, it's really honestly a cool game. And capping off my next five is Doom 2016, the first Doom game that I actually really played. I had dabbled with the other ones, but I had never, ever, ever finished a Doom game. That's at number 90 for me, the release that was in 2016. So, Brandon, you're up, man.
All right, 94. I'm going back to another franchise with Sonic 2. 93 is Hunter's Arena Legends, which I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did. 92, Sonic Adventure. 91, the pandemic game Animal Crossing New Horizons, which came out at the perfect time. Number 90 is Sonic Adventure 2, actually.
Do you think somebody likes Sonic?
Oh, just wait till you see the rest of my list.
Yeah, and I think that just, again, it highlights when you're really into a series, and there's a couple series that I've got multiple entries for on here. It's a lot of fun to kind of, like our friend Harrison does, binging series. If you've gotten really into the characters in one of these games, for example, and if you just really like the mechanics, if you really like what they're offering you, it's very easy to just buy the next game as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's there's definitely some multi-entry gaming franchises that are on this list for me. I know Brandon's got them too. And some of these games, it's kind of funny before you go through your next list, Rob, especially like some of these next five that are coming up on the list for me. I had such a good time with, and I have such fond memories of them. And it's crazy because we're sitting here, going through 100, and it's like, man, my number 85, I love. I had such a good time with it. So excited. And there's something that I'll talk about when I release, my part. But it's like, well, it's 85. It's crazy to think about. And Rob, I remember when I asked you before you get started, when I said, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to be a part of this? I think your first response was, geez, it might be hard for me to think of 100 games. And then the next text that we had with each other really was, well, I've got 115 on my list. I got to narrow it down. So it was like,
and I want to say those text messages were about 5 minutes apart.
Yeah, it was like, oh, geez, I might have a hard time doing this to, oh, I got to condense. So it really is funny to me to see how many, not how many games that we've played, but just, yeah, have I ever really thought about it before Brandon brought this topic up to me? I never really thought about, well, where would they really rank? How difficult would it be to say, why would I place this here and this here? And even though something might be, in the 80s, I still had a fantastic time with it.
And I think that's what's one of the things that's really challenging about a project like this, the advancements in technology and the things that are, I've got an Xbox Series X sitting in my living room right now that can do things that it would completely blow the minds of a programmer who was working on the original Nintendo Entertainment System back in 1985, and to try to think that that's where the hobby would transform into. It's just unbelievable. This is so much harder to do in some ways than trying to rank your 100 favorite films, because yes, there have 100% been advancements in film technology. You think about just computer generated graphics and things like that. Cinematography has advanced a little bit because you can do things with cranes now that you didn't have access to when in the 40s, let's say. There's wire works and rigging and things like that. The technology behind special effects and pyro and the safety on film sets is so much different now. But ultimately, a good story is a good story. And you can go all the way back to the Greek tragedies and find good storytelling in a narrative sense with people portraying that narrative. Gaming has changed so much that to try to go back to some of these old games, many of them do not hold up at all. Like, they're not fun to go back and replay. So trying to rank that against what is available in our modern era is very, very challenging. That being said, I've got some stuff in my top 10 that is older than Brandon, and I think still holds up to this day, which honestly makes it even that much more incredible. The things that I played when I was my kid's age, are still relevant right now is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So, Rob, you're taking us through here. We're moving along, starting with 89.
Yeah. So coming in at 89, the original Mortal Kombat. We had Street Fighter 2 to kind of kick off the fighting genre of gaming, but Mortal Kombat kind of changed it and showed us what was going to come next. And it really showed that there was an appetite for mature adult gaming that wasn't just Mario and Sonic for kids. Another fighting game at 88, Dead or Alive 3. It was one of the first games that I owned for the original Xbox, and it kind of changed the fighting genre from just being about gore and fatalities to clean combos, and was just really a lot of fun. I loved that there was diverse fighting styles that were very, as a person who studied martial arts since he was 18 years old and has a great love for a variety of styles of martial arts, I loved how true they were to each discipline and each style, and representing it accurately was really impressive to me. 87, Contra. Going all the way back to the original Nintendo. Yes, put a lot of time. Popular. It really made popular the Konami code. One of the most important pieces of pop culture to gamers. Still actually a lot of fun to play, although I don't know without the 30 extra lives how the developers ever thought anybody was going to beat that game, because you can't do it on 3. You just can't do it. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. But 86, Need for Speed Underground. Really changed the franchise a lot. Wow. I don't have a lot of racing games. Yeah, I don't have a lot of racing games that I've played and really loved, but this one I spent a lot of time with, and I love the customization of the cars. 85, NBA Jam. A real departure for sports games. It showed that you could have an arcade feel. It didn't have to be realistic simulation, as realistic as we had, in the 16-bit era.
Right.
But it showed that you could go bonkers with a sports title, and it was a ton of fun.
Yeah, one thing that I'll bring up before I go to my list is one thing that I'm very impressed by with Brandon is he will put in a lot of research into games. Like, he knows lore of games that he will talk to me about with Zelda and just other things. But I don't know, especially for like you and me, Rob, if somebody like who is Brandon's age, would understand like how monumental something like Mortal Kombat was when that released.
Oh, I know. But I love fighting games, and like I like those games and like King of Fighters. Like, if those games and King of Fighters weren't around, like the Guilty Gear franchise wouldn't be around. And I wouldn't be playing like 200 hours of Guilty Gear Strive.
And it's just funny because it was like Mortal Kombat was, and then the later
groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking. I don't even want to get into arcades because that could be a whole nother show by itself. What arcades used to be like back when, Rob, you and I were kids, and you were standing in line with your quarters waiting to be next on the machine. But
And
it's
trying to
wild.
explain to kids that video games in arcades used to exist regularly outside of Dave and Buster's, but also that it was quarters and not like a card that you slid
Yeah.
through. Like that would blow my kid's mind.
Rob, you might know it. You're a smart guy. You retain a lot. What is that Contra code?
Up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A. And then for me, it's always select start because I was playing with my brother and my dad. So we were always doing 2-player.
That
You got it.
that right there, that's video games to a T.
I bought my brother a shirt for his birthday one year that had that on it. It said, know the code. And it was just that. And it was like in an 8-bit sort of like the everything. It wasn't just a straight up arrow and down arrow. Everything looked really 8-bit. And I think he probably still owns it to this day, actually.
That's fantastic. So for me, 89, Luigi's Mansion 3. Really fun game. So, something I enjoyed, was happy to hear was actually going to be coming out, because it's been a really long time since the Luigi's Mansion game had hit the market. Number 88, Gran Turismo. My first racing game on this, and something that has recently just been brought up in this house because of footage of Gran Turismo 7.
When it looks like real life.
Right, it really does. When I say that I put so much time into this game, hours upon hours upon hours upon hours into Gran Turismo. Something that I fondly remember. Number 87 is Shadow of War, Lord of the Rings. I am not afraid to, admit this is a total ripoff of the Batman Arkham series and Assassin's Creed that they have done, but something that I sincerely enjoy. I thought it was really, really cool. And I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings guy. I am not, gung-ho over the original trilogy. But man, what a really well put together game. At 86, I have Wave Race 64, a super simplistic game, but something for some reason that was just weird, countless hours of joy for Wave Race. It's a really weird one to describe because the game is nothing. Like it's really not, though. It's not like the replayability was there like in some games. This was just, like you said, though, Rob, I think it boiled down to mechanics. It was just simple and fun. And a lot of the times that's all you needed to spend hours on a game. I
can remember doing a bunch of barrel rolls and backflips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I sunk a lot of time into that game. It did not make my list, but it nearly could have.
And then to cap off this part, at 85, I have Dead Space, a game that I thought was really well done, really kind of, push forward a genre again when it had become somewhat stale. And something that seems really exciting, the remake footage that they have been releasing, similar to what they have done with the Resident Evil series, with Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. Dead Space, really something that I felt helped bring horror genre games kind of back to a little bit more mainstream, because they had fallen off for a while, I think.
All right. So number 89 is actually probably my mother's favorite game. It's Super Mario Bros. Wii. 88 is actually outside of Dark Souls 2, which is not on the list. It's the lowest ranked From Software game. It's actually pretty big of a jump. It's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. 87, we go to a Sekiro clone with Star Wars Fallen Order. 86, my only sports game on here is NHL 14. And 85 is Paper Mario and the Origami King, a game that I feel is actually really underrated right now.
Very interesting. I do find it interesting that one sports game on the entire list. I know I have a couple of sports games for me.
Well, I'm growing up in the age where sports games aren't all that much.
Yeah, that's true.
So-
There, Rob, when we were growing up, there was variety and growth in sports games over time. Now it's turn out the same product with a new roster and a new number attached to the name, and that's a sports game.
Yeah, and it really started. You can kind of blame EA a little bit for this when they started locking up exclusive rights to different leagues. It really killed, just the competitiveness of driving new features and things like that. So, quick story: I was finally able to get an Xbox Series X about a month or two ago, and the only way for me to get it was I had to buy this bundle of games that had, a bundle of stuff from GameStop that I didn't necessarily want all of it, but I'm like, okay, this isn't terrible. I could actually use all of this, or I won't mind having that. One of the things was NBA 2K22, which I've never played any of the NBA 2K games, but I've always heard they're really good. Haven't actually played an NBA game probably in 15 years. The complexity that sports games have today is insane. Like, they are not just pick up and play. Like, if you invite a friend over and you hand him a controller and he's not played Madden in some years or hasn't played NBA 2K in some years, man, you're going to just smoke that guy. Like, they're so complex and so many things going on at the same time. I can remember in college, we would just have people walking down the hall in my dorm and somebody had Madden on. You just come in and be like, oh yeah, this is what this button does and this is what that button does. And they could hold their own. Mm-hmm. That is not the case anymore. The sports games have gotten so complex, and it kind of pulls a little bit of the fun out of it, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's Brandon and I were sitting here as you were talking about your situation, just kind of laughing to ourselves, because that's what you just described was us getting a PlayStation 5.
We decided to get rid of NBA, and we got Demon Souls, which was got to be one of the best decisions we made, because it got me into the entire Soul series.
Yeah, it was funny. I happened to I was on Instagram, and when I clicked on it, my top feed was GameStop has PS5s in stock now. I immediately clicked the link, and it takes me to GameStop. I look at the cart and I said, okay, it was the system, 2 controllers, Spider-Man Miles Morales, the Ultimate Edition, which came with the remake of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man PS4 on the PS5, and then NBA 2K22. And I was like, well, we would need 2 controllers. I definitely would want to play Spider-Man, but that 2K22 game was really making me hesitate. And I was like, if I don't pull the trigger and get this now, I probably will probably not be able to get a PS5 for a very, very long time. So pulled the trigger, got it. I was fortunate enough to be able to return NBA 2K22 for full value. We got the Demon Souls game, and like Brandon said, that turned into what you playing 5, 6.
Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Bloodborne. I already pre-ordered Elden Ring.
Yeah, it turned into a branching of, well, now I want to play 5 other games because of this.
I liked it.
So, that's actually really pretty funny that it goes like that. So, with all that being said, I'm going to defer to you guys for a second. Who's up next on the list?
It's me, yeah.
Okay, I got carried away, and the conversation was like, who's next?
Yeah. So we're back to me. We're starting at 84, and we're going to run up to 80. So at 84, continuing a theme of my first 25 games. Recognizing important games that I personally have played, but also redefine what it means to be a gamer. Wii Sports. Don't at me. Wii Sports is a classic. It deserves to be recognized as one of the most important games in gaming history. This thing sold so many systems on a mechanic that functionally didn't work very well in most of the other games that ever released. I can't tell you how many Nintendo Wiis were sold that they never bought anything other than Wii Sports. This system and this game were in nursing homes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And are still there to this day being used, despite the fact they've already discontinued it, made another console that they promptly discontinued because it was garbage, and they're now on the Switch. Wii Sports, don't at me, is among the most important games in the history of this hobby. 83, one of my few Sega entries, Altered Beast. Just a really good time.
Way.
Yeah, Altered Beast. My brother and I played a lot of this in arcades and things like that. We always had a great time. It was super fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, there are a variety of Genesis packages that are out there that you can purchase. There's one that I recently bought my son because he really liked the Sonic movie, so I got him this Sega Genesis collection for his Switch, and it was included on there, and we've played a lot of it together. So for whatever reason, my son is really into these really old games. He's 9. He just turned 9, and he's really into the Virtual Console on Nintendo with the NES Classics, the Super NES Classics. He loves my I have a Super NES Classic, like the system itself.
Oh, nice.
He just loves these really old, super hard games that I'm like, buddy, this isn't fun for me playing this right now, but he's like super into it. But anyways, so yeah, I've been rocking out some Altered Beast lately. 82, Maximum Carnage. Side-scrolling beat 'em up. Spider-Man and Venom, you can pick as either one. There was all kinds of cool power-ups that brought in other heroes. Had a phenomenal banging soundtrack for the Super NES by Green Jelly. And I think they actually pronounce it Green Jelly, but it's spelled Green Jelly. You'll remember them from the Three Little Pigs song that was like huge when I was in elementary school. But just a phenomenal side-scrolling beat 'em up. Just a great time. I loved it. 81. This will probably be somewhat controversial, but I have GTA San Andreas here. I know this ranks much higher on most other lists, but for me, I think the city was just too big. It took too long to get from one place to another. I didn't like having to worry about gangs attacking zones I'd already claimed while also keeping my fitness and my eating routine up. It was too much going on. I didn't enjoy a lot of the extra stuff they added from what I thought was a phenomenal game at Vice City. Number 80, the Simpsons arcade game. This probably claimed, I don't even know how many dollars of my quarters over the years of playing it. Just a fantastic time. I'm not even that big of a Simpsons fan, to be honest. But I love this arcade game. I poured quarter after quarter after quarter into this. Always played as Bart, and always loved the hammer. I really love this game. It's a nostalgic choice, even if it's not ultimately that great. I'm making air quotes right now of a game.
Yeah, that's boy. Those arcade games, a lot of them, they weren't good, but just the time, just the feeling. Like, I don't want to get too far into it because that's not, really what we're doing here right now. But just being in the arcade, man, Rob, like I think about that, and it was so fun just to be in the arcade. Like, yeah, it's still fun if you go to Dave and Buster's, but like back when there was an arcade, like
Yeah.
skee-ball was a thing. Like, skee-ball was actually like a thing. Like, you were really excited to go there and play skee-ball. Again, like the Simpsons arcade game, just, if you were there, having quarters lined up at the top of the machine, so when you died for the 9th time, you were still just popping in quarters so you could hit the continue button. It was just so much fun in the arcade. And one other thing, again, Brandon and I kind of laughed and smiled because Wii Sports, we were incredibly excited with the announcement that we are getting a Switch Sports game now.
Ooh.
They are bringing it back. So we were watching the Nintendo Direct feed, and when that game came up, we both went, what?
That was like no one wasn't leaked, wasn't even rumored. It just came up, and we're like, "What?"
So get ready for assisted living homes to get Switches. Like,
Yeah. I just want to jump in real quick. Just you're talking about the arcades, and I'm thinking back to when I was much younger, and it's just really not the same now. You remember when malls were a thing? You remember when like malls had like stores in them, and they weren't like tumbleweeds rolling through them.
McKinley Mall, Boardwalk Boulevard. It was 2 floors for the arcade. That's when a mall was a mall.
Yep. The arcade was such a draw back then. The arcade was the reason you behaved for your parents on a day you knew you were going to the mall. Just
100%.
in case you were handed a $5 bill and told, go ahead, you can have 20 minutes. And that was the reason, like, my mom would be pushing a cart through Sears. I didn't say a peep. I didn't complain about how long she was in there because just on the sheer possibility she might let me go to the arcade, I was willing to stomach any amount of time clothes shopping that she did because, man, that arcade it just hit different. The options for entertainment when we were kids were just not the same. And I'm not trying to, say, get off my lawn or anything like that here, but think about Xbox Game Pass for just like 2 seconds. Yeah. There's like 747,000 games on there that I can download and play almost instantly. And not even have to download. Most of them you can play on the cloud right now. Mm-hmm. My Nintendo, I only had whatever I had for it. But the arcade, that had everything that was new. And the lights and the sound, all the speakers were better. The screen was bigger than what you had at home. It was a different experience. And if you thought you were, because keep in mind, before there was online gaming, you might think of your group of friends that you were the best at Mortal Kombat or whatever it was you were playing, or NBA Jam. That was another one that took a lot of quarters that we've already talked about. You show up to the arcade and there was some kid from another school you had never seen before in your life would just absolutely mop the floor with you. And you would leave the arcade with your tail between your legs and then eventually just go back to beating your friends and feeling like you were hot stuff again. But that humbling experience, everybody has had that experience.
Oh, 100%. So moving to my list, 84. Rob, one that I think you might have something to say. The first Assassin's Creed. A game that very much shaped a lot of things. But when you go back and you look at the first Assassin's Creed, as much as it broke through and did some new things for games, boy, when you go back and really look at that game, after the first 2 levels, not only is it rough, it was incredibly repetitive. It was literally the same thing over and over and over and over. Get a cutscene, go to this point, kill this person, get another cutscene, go to this point, get a cutscene, kill this person, get a cutscene, and move on. It just became extremely repetitive, but then, I mean, a huge leap forward when the next one came out. So Assassin's Creed at 84 for me. 83, Mario Party Super. 82, the first Luigi's Mansion game. One of the reasons I got a Nintendo GameCube in the first place was Luigi's Mansion. Number 81, here's going to be a huge discrepancy, I think. Calling it right now. Number 81, The Last of Us. And then number 80.
Wow.
Yep. Then number 80, capping off this portion, is Death Stranding. A game that's downright gorgeous. But I have to force myself to play it. Just because of the mechanics. There's games that I don't mind getting into and having to really struggle with. And then other games, it's like, I have to be in the right set of mind, or I have to have the right amount of time. because Death Stranding is not something that you pick up if you're like, oh, I'm going to pop in a game for 30 or 40 minutes. Like Death Stranding, you have to say, no, I've carved out a chunk of time in my day, and I've already gone to the bathroom and I didn't drink anything because I'm not getting up.
Well, it's a Kojima game, so you have to take a bathroom break before that cutscene.
So that takes me down to number 80. Brandon, you're up.
84 is actually the original Luigi's Mansion.
Ooh, okay.
83 is, to me, the best 2D Sonic in Sonic Mania. 82 is probably the racing game that started me off in my childhood. And it's Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube. 81, the first in a franchise that will, let's say, kind of take over in my top probably 25. It's Kingdom Hearts, or it's 2.8. And number 80 is actually Sonic Generations.
Okay. So I think that's the first, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's the first, not exact match, but the first thing that we've had starting with 100 where one of our games falls in at least the same range of, going through 5 with Luigi's Mansion, mine being 82. So it's right in the same group listing.
Yeah, The Last of Us is going to be at a very different place for me than it was for you.
Oh, I know it is. I know it is.
Assassin's Creed, just to touch on that one real quick, you're right. It's incredibly repetitive. I think even at the time that I played it, I knew that it was repetitive and that part kind of sucked. But I think the story just really compelled you to want to know what happened next. And you could see that, man, if they expand on this is something that could be really special. And it's continued on and on and on and has become one of my favorite series.
This is certainly something I think, because there's other entries that I have on the list, and it's something that we could talk about then, because I don't think it ties into right now. But that was when Assassin's Creed was Assassin's Creed. Obviously, it was the first game, and I think anybody who's played these games throughout will probably know what I'm speaking of, where those first couple of games, once they kind of got away from that story, that's where I kind of fell with the series a little bit, and certainly I've come back to it. But yeah, that story was so interesting. And LOTR, I know there's a couple different ways that people have said his name, was really actually fascinating. So they had a good story. It's just, the gameplay was not there yet. But again, there was certainly a huge leap from 1 to 2 in terms of where that gameplay went.
And even further, interestingly enough, for a series that I love, when I was making my original just list of the games I was going to be choosing from, this one, of course, featured on my list. The entire series actually featured it amongst my games that I was going to be considering. But the original one does not make my top 100.
Yeah. So we are coming up here. And I've got a couple on my list as we get to 75 and the groupings that we're going to do for this first part of, this 4-part series that we're going to do. I do have some maybe more, I have more thoughts on a couple of my entries in this category. But Rob, you are up next to cap off, this next list.
Yeah, so running us from 79 to 75, I'm going to start with Call of Duty 2. The Xbox 360 had just come out. This was the game that I bought to bring home with my new Xbox 360. So just the leap in graphics. I also owned a gamer chair at that time. My aunt had gotten it for me for Christmas that year. So, it's one of those like rocking chairs that has the speakers on either side and the sub in the back.
Oh,
so imagine...
That was like gift, that was like the gift for Christmas if you didn't have one as a kid. Like you would get
100%. Yeah. No, I mean, I was like 22 at the time. So, technically, I mean, look, I'm almost 40 and I'm considering myself a kid, but the leap in graphics and having that immersive sound really has kind of stuck with me. And I'll tell you what, because of how much, and you look back on it now, it's Xbox 360 level graphics. It's nowhere near like what we get in 4K now with the most advanced systems. But just that leap at the time is hard to explain to somebody going from the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2 era into the Xbox 360 PS3 era. It's hard really to explain, but both of my grandfathers actually served in the military during World War II. My dad's dad, a little bit longer. And one of the weird things when you're in that kind of immersive experience, there's out of the left speaker, there's somebody yelling, Granada, Granada. And you have this big explosion going off from the sub behind you. And all of these bullets are flying. And it's just this crazy experience. To me, I was like, was this what it was like to serve? Like, I'm thinking about my grandparents and I'm thinking about everybody else's parents that had served in that war. Like it really it was the first time I stopped and said, was this what it was like? Obviously it had, in no way can compare to actually having your life in jeopardy. But it was like, just that crazy experience. It's hard for me to really put into words accurately. I'm probably butchering what I'm trying to explain, but spent a lot of time with that game. Really enjoyed it. I think I just have a lot of nostalgia for that. Moving on, Mortal Kombat 2 is 78. It was the first time Nintendo allowed blood and gore. I had it for Super Nintendo, and really fell in love with the character of Baraka. Remains one of my favorite Mortal Kombat characters to this day. Really a big jump for the franchise. Really enjoyed it. Moving on to 77, I have Turok, Dinosaur Hunter. A really good time. Have a lot of fond memories of playing this game. Ton of fun cheat codes. It kind of fell off a little bit and later on, but I still love the original entry. 76, we're going back to the arcade for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. Back when you could tell bosses were almost going to be ready to die when they started blinking or turning colors. I can remember Rocksteady in the original one when the whole building's on fire. I can't tell you how many times, I got to that point. Going back and replaying that game, you kind of you didn't realize it when you were a kid, but man, those arcade games, they were designed to be impossible or have cheap moves where you couldn't block it or were pretty much guaranteed to have to put more quarters in. So, whatever. Moving on. 75 for me. Jedi Fallen Order. Felt like a true addition to the Star Wars franchise, not just a tie-in game. Felt like a fully fledged Star Wars experience that expanded my understanding and enjoyment of the Star Wars universe. Had a great time playing this game, and I'm excited. I keep hearing chatter about a sequel, and I'm excited to see what they do, and I'm excited to see if they incorporate any of these characters into TV and film.
I mean, that final boss, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I think it's pretty safe to say that if we actually end up in anything that would be considered a spoiler, we'd probably say spoiler alert first. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I'd really like to play that game. Oh, crap. Should I plug my ears before I get anything spoiled? We'll say spoiler alert before we actually say anything. But yes, the final boss of that was a pretty fun fight.
Oh, boy.
I'll piggyback too on one thing going back. And again, it was one of those things where Mortal Kombat 2, the hype behind it, there used to be video game magazines. It was all over.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 2 was all over everything. It was, 6-foot cutouts of Scorpion or Sub-Zero or Johnny Cage, and just the craze behind Mortal Kombat 2 was so real.
Quick story on that. I'm in 6th grade and I'm flying to Disney World for the first time with my family over Christmas break. And a bunch of my friends, we liked the original Mortal Kombat. We knew the second one was coming. I'm in the Pittsburgh airport, and there was an arcade in the Pittsburgh airport before we actually got onto our flight. I walk in, and there is Mortal Kombat 2. I didn't even really know that it was almost released. And there it was. It was staring me in the face. And it was 50 cents per try. Now, back then, everything was a quarter. This was 50 cents. And I immediately look at my dad and I'm just like, you gotta let me do this. Like, it was literally the first day I was off for Christmas break. The first day was when we left. I had to wait. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to Disney. And I had to sit on my thumbs pretty much and wait until I got home, got back to school on January 2nd or 3rd or whatever that date was, to try to tell all of my friends about the experience I had playing Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcade, because I played it before any of them. And I told that story even before I told them about Space Mountain.
Yeah, I remember too with Mortal Kombat 2, I thought I was so cool because I actually was allowed, when it was released for home, I was actually allowed to get it. And I was one of really the only people in my friends that my mom actually let me get Mortal Kombat 2. Because there was a lot of, parents that were very upset, because certainly there was a graphical increase. Again, back then it wasn't really huge, but there was also a brutality increase from the first one to the second one as well.
Yep.
That did cause, did cause a lot of feathers to be ruffled. And there were a lot of parents that weren't allowing their kid to get that game. So I thought I was just the coolest thing ever that, my mom actually let me get Mortal Kombat 2. So that was really cool. But for me, number 79, Wii Sports. Number 78, the first Gears of War. 77, Dragon Age Origins, a game that I spent 115 hours on. I remember my playtime total for that game. 76, a game that's really, really good. And I really struggled with where I wanted to put this, but ultimately 76 is a game called Returnal that came out for the PS5. A really, really good game, incredibly hard. If you die, you have to go back to the beginning. And this is a game that I actually have on my list that I didn't finish personally, but through a playthrough and me watching Brandon play through this game, I was able to see the whole story and take this in. The graphics are crazy good. The gameplay is really tight. There's such a huge steep curve to it. But then towards the end, and although it was really cool, like just from my perspective, you did get one weapon that basically shredded
everyone,
the rest of the game. Like, you got this weapon and you got the upgrade, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, this game's suddenly not so difficult. And it was like, I didn't really think anything of it when I was first watching it, but like thinking of it, I was like, that's kind of...
Well, even with the gun, you have to worry about falling off, a bunch of other enemies. It's not like it's a guaranteed win. I was also like, I swear to God,
you were in the zone.
I didn't blink for like a half an hour. I swear to God, it was that tough.
So I have Returnal at 76, and then finishing off my list for part 1 at 75 is Rise of the Tomb Raider. A game that a series that I was never really into in the original era, when Tomb Raider came out. But the rebooted franchise of Terminator really turned me on to that series. Rise of Tomb Raider was an upgrade from Tomb Raider that came out, I believe, in roughly 2014 or 15, I think is when this reboot came out, and just expanded on everything. So number 75 for me is Rise of the Tomb Raider.
All right, now my turn. Number 79 is Super Mario Golf. Number 78 is Resident Evil 3 Remake, which I understand why people complain about the newer games not being as scary. Jesus. Number 77 is the game designed to make you angry with Jump King. 76, Mario Sunshine. Unfortunately, it just doesn't capture some of the magic that the 3D Marios do. And being a Nintendo fan, number 75 is Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
So, Rob, I have to tell you a quick side story as we're finishing up our list here. Super Mario Golf, I think, produced one of the most genuine laughs I've ever heard from my two kids, and it was directed at me, so it wasn't very nice, but an actual really like really nice memory actually overall, and just a really good time with my two kids. Um, go outside in the backyard. We take the Switch. We've got the tiki torches going so bugs aren't biting us. And we take the Switch and we set it up outside on the 80-inch projector, and we're playing Super Mario Golf. And it's 10 o'clock at night, nice night, but it's so cool to just be outside, playing this game on a big screen. And I go to hit my special shot in Mario Golf, and I swing and I crack this thing like right off the building in front of me. It goes like 200 yards backwards from where the hole is. And I'm not kidding. Like, they laughed so loud I thought the neighbors would yell at us, because like it was just a genuine like down in your belly laugh at how bad I had just screwed up this shot, which like actually made me like get a 10 shot penalty for the hole because I screwed up so bad. But it was just like that game just produced like an actual really nice like family moment that I'll remember for a while, because it was like a genuine like, oh my god, like my kids were like, oh my god, Dad, like
that's one of the great things about gaming. There's so many times just the experiences you have with friends and family, particularly like I can remember one, the game 1942 somehow didn't make my list, and I'm kind of wondering why it never made my list. It's a fighter pilot game for the original NES. It is impossible. It is so hard. 1943 was kind of the follow-up, takes place after that, also incredibly hard. My dad, my brother, and I would take turns trying to get through it. It is incredibly difficult. There was a lunar eclipse that was happening, and we stayed inside and didn't go out to look at it. It was actually very visible from where our house was. We stayed inside trying to finish it. We finally beat it, rolled the credits, and we went outside to enjoy the lunar eclipse. Like, I can just vividly remember some of these things from my history of gaming. And I also think that busting on your relatives, busting on your friends when they do something ridiculous is another phenomenal, great memory that we all have. We all share that sort of energy around gaming. I can remember as a kid trying to teach my aunt, who was interested in we were very, very little, and she wanted to see what we were up to. And we were trying to teach her how to play Contra. And before motion controls were a thing, she tried to make the guy jump by making the controller bounce up in the air, and it just didn't work out at all. And I can remember laughing about that to this day. It's a great memory that I have. We all kind of have something like that. I think everybody has their version of it, which, by the way, if you're listening to this, not only share your list, but share some of your favorite gaming moments with us. Share times you laughed at a family member or laughed at a friend, or you did something ridiculous and people laughed at you. And it's always going to be this great gaming memory for you. We'd love to hear those too.
Yeah, Brandon, did you have anything that you wanted to cap off on that?
I'm just gonna say he charged that shot for like a full minute and banked it off this window and went 20 feet back.
Yeah, it was something.
It was so good.
So capping off, our list here. We did say what we're going to do with this episode is it is going to be a conversation of what your least favorite controller has been across gaming and what your favorite controller has been across gaming. So we can keep, the same order. So Rob, if you want to go first and go with your least favorite controller, and then we'll, and a reason why, we'll go next with ours.
So my least favorite controller was the PS Vita. Had so much potential to be a great follow-up to the PSP. They made so many mistakes with it, though. Trying to add the back touchscreen, I accidentally made stuff happen on that when I was just kind of shifting where it was in my hand. It was actually kind of uncomfortable to hold for a long time. The front touchscreen was never really utilized well. They didn't put in the clickable thumbsticks like they should have, and missing out on two shoulder buttons, two on each side, really made that system hard to work with, particularly when one of the selling features of it was remote play. Before, it was very easy to do on phones. Keep in mind, before the PS app was as good as it was, that was a big reason to get a Vita, was that you could remote play from your PS4. And when you didn't have access to the same button layout as you did on your PlayStation, it made it really tough. And as somebody who wanted more great games to come out, you're never going to play a first-person shooter very well without all of those additional buttons. And they never really supported it very well either, but that was really my least favorite controller. Dishonorable mention to any touch controls for pretty much every mobile game ever, because most touch controls, when they try to make a console-level game for mobile games, is just god-awful. You cannot use thumbsticks with a touchscreen.
Yeah, mine is going to be automatically, it goes to the original Xbox controller. I call that thing the Juggernaut. It was big, it was bulky. It cramped my hand something fierce, and I mean the whole system was,
Big and over the top.
Yeah, it was
heavy.
a monstrosity, but that definitely is my least favorite controller for any system that I owned.
I really want
So-
to. Oh, you could go ahead. My bad.
I was gonna say, hot take. So they call that controller the Duke. I actually never minded it because I have giant hands, because I'm a very big person. I have giant hands, and I always felt like of all the controllers I've ever held, that one actually fits my hands the best, even if it didn't have the correct kind of the modern layout that's kind of been accepted for controllers with the shoulder button and then the two triggers. They had the white and the black buttons that eventually got moved to the additional spots, the bumpers, but it actually fit my hand pretty well. I know that's going to be like, when you ask somebody their least favorite controller, a bunch of people are going to tell you it was the Duke.
I really want to like the controller I'm on the list, but it just comes with too many problems. A lot of problems for this controller or controllers. It's the Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch.
Yep. Too small.
I really do want to like them. Like, they improved motion controls for some of these games that's even on the list, but man, some of the problems it causes.
Not to mention the dreaded Joy-Con.
That's what I'm referring to.
The drift. It's
Yep.
just, they're like, oh, you can try this, and then, or just buy a new one. And it's like, yeah, they're $80. Like, I need to buy a new one every 3 months if I go with your strategy. Like,
Yeah. I think we need to throw some real quick shade too at the Genesis controller. Only having an A, B, and C button is nowhere near enough. There was, I think, with Mortal Kombat 2, some of the moves you had to actually press two buttons at the same time. Like, why they thought that was going to probably be enough buttons was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's true. You did have to do that.
I can't imagine playing fighting games doing like the motion inputs and two buttons. I can't.
Yeah, and having them all kind of in a row too, instead of staggered the way that most modern controllers were. I mean, just even looking at the Super Nintendo, it was terrible.
You would like slip your fingers because all three buttons were really like they were just lined up right next to each other, and especially too because sometimes you're trying to you were clicking fast. You would just you'd hit the C button when you're trying to hit the B button because you were moving so quick.
Yep, terrible.
So, all right, favorite controller.
Yeah, so favorite controller. When Microsoft released the Xbox 360, they really came to define what the modern controller looks like. It's widely copied. PlayStation adapted pieces of it. Almost every Bluetooth controller you can buy as an aftermarket controller is a model of the Xbox 360 controller. it was so good that when they released the Xbox One, they really didn't change it much. They added some additional rumble features to the triggers. And that's kind of the next generation that you see in the Xbox Series X/S controller. So I'm going to say that it works. I've not actually had the chance to purchase a PS5 yet, so I know that controller alone is a big selling feature of it with the adaptive triggers and things like that. But for what I've been able to spend some time with, the newest Xbox controller, I think, is everything you're looking for.
Yeah, that really was a huge upgrade, especially, going from, I know you said it was good, for you, going from the Duke to that Xbox 360 controller, and basically something they haven't really had to do a ton of changes on. I mean, they do have that, what is it called? The Microsoft Elite, or that upgraded controller that they have.
And that adds like the back panel buttons to the triggers on the back that you can program and things like that if you're into esports.
Yeah, so that really has, that Xbox 360 controller really has stayed their bread and butter over time. For me though, I do own the PS5. It is the PS5 controller, the adaptive triggers, the sound that comes out of it. Especially, there's one game that really helps showcase it, and it's Astro's Playroom.
It might be on my list.
It just really shows, like, as the PlayStation 5 is going to continue to grow and they're going to release updates and everything in between, it's crazy to think about how good the controller actually is. It's crazy how responsive, and the adaptive triggers and just everything that this controller does on the PS5. It's definitely my favorite one that I've ever played with.
Yeah, my answer is the exact same. One negative I will say, and this is like kind of for me as a negative for a controller, it sucks for fighting games, man. Like, I don't know what they did with the D-pad, but it's just not the same as the DualShock 4. But like every other game, it's amazing. Like, I love immersion in video games, and that is like the key to it for this generation.
Yeah.
Oh, honorable mention. I forgot what it's called. Let me see if I can find what it's called.
Oh, he did get one. I remember he did get a fighting controller, so to speak. Not one of the big, like, arcade box ones. But
I think it's like Mad Catz. I forgot the model of it, but it's really, really good for fighting games. With the D-pad and the button layout and everything, it's perfect for it.
yeah, so that does it for the list. We got 100 through 75. As we keep moving on, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say about these games as we get further and further down the list. But a really exciting episode. A lot of fun for me to go back and think about these games and where I was at a point in my life, like I said earlier, or whatnot. But Rob, before we officially sign off, we'll talk a little bit about Matt Goes to the Movies as a whole. You always talk about it so eloquently. And I know, again, just for listeners that have listened to this show and are familiar with you, I know you're getting ready to hopefully record again very soon. So I'll let you take it away.
Sure. So first of all, if you have not already, please subscribe to Matt Goes to the Movies wherever you get your podcasts. Please also, like we've asked, there's lots of different ways you can interact with the show. There's lots of different ways you can give feedback. Tell us your favorite controller. Tell us if trying to do your top 100 is intimidating, which, by the way, it's really hard to do. Give us your top 10. Give us your top 20. Give us your top 10 favorite series. If it's too hard to say, pick which of the Assassin's Creed or Gears or Sonic or Resident Evil is your favorite, just give us your top 5 series of all time that are so reliable you're going to purchase each one every time out. let us know what those are. You can send it through Instagram. You comment on the posts on Instagram or Facebook, TikTok as well. You can email the show, mgttmpodcast@gmail.com. Would certainly love to hear your thoughts if that's an easier way for you to send them to us. And if you get a minute, there's a lot of time that goes into making these shows, including rewatching a variety of feature-length films, which are anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours, or in the case of the Snyder Cut of Justice League, like it's like 7 days long, and Matt's already seen it 822 times. It's incredibly time-consuming to do that. It takes a lot of time to put the shows together, sit down, record, and we are thrilled to bring this to you, the listener. Hopefully, it helps you pass your day. Hopefully, it makes it more fun to drive to work, drive to school, hit the treadmill, take the dog for a walk, mow the grass, snow blow, do dishes, put away laundry, whatever it is that you find yourself doing while you're enjoying the show. We're glad you chose it. If you do enjoy the show, something that you can do that is absolutely 100% free for you to do is to leave a review on Podchaser. You can go to podchaser.com on your mobile device, the same device that you are currently hearing my words on. You can go to podchaser.com. Hopefully not while you're driving, though. Like, wait till you're actually at work or school or whatever you're doing. And look up Matt Goes to the Movies and leave a review. You can leave a review for this very episode, any of the other great shows that are available on the channel, or you can leave a review for the show as a whole. Would love to hear your feedback. If it's 5 stars, fantastic. But honest reviews are always much more appreciated. That being said, we are planning within the next week, I imagine, Eric and I will be thrilled to bring back another edition of the extended podcast universe for a show we call Rob's Reviews. We typically like to cover movies that have meant a lot to us over time, much like a lot of the games we've mentioned on this list, something that's not just a flash in the pan, not just a one and done kind of thing, but films we've seen over and over again and still hold a special place in our hearts. After the onslaught to my brain that I've had to endure for the month of January with Matrix Revolutions, Batman and Robin, and the director's cut of Daredevil, I definitely wanted a palate cleanser. So we've picked an adventure film that's a lot older than some of the stuff we've picked so far. That's just a ton of fun. I haven't seen it in a while, and I was like, man, that would be a great one to just have a lot of fun rewatching and talking about. So probably the next couple of days, we're looking forward to getting that recorded and bringing that out to everybody. Oh yeah, and check out the playlists that Eric curates as well. Those are a lot of fun. He's already got the next one done. I've listened to it. It's some good stuff. So the playlists for each episode are included in the show notes for the shows.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Thank you for going over that. And listeners, like Rob said, reviews help the show a great deal. This is something that I know, I really love doing. Rob, I know, if Rob didn't like doing this, he wouldn't have spun off and, done a couple, episodes on his own. Brandon has had a really fun time being a part of, a couple of these episodes that we've done. So the reviews really do help. And again, I'm not sitting here. Rob's not sitting here. We're not asking you to, just leave us 5 stars to leave us 5 stars. If there's something that you didn't like about the episode, I'd like to hear that. We're the last people that are, you don't know what you're talking about, or your opinion's stupid, or, sometimes what happens when you're talking about movies or anything like that. I love that feedback. It helps. The purpose of the show is not only to have fun, but I hope it's, entertaining for listeners, and you get something out of it. And we appreciate you coming back to continue to listen, and certainly coming to listen to this episode here, which is different for Matt Goes to the Movies. So thank you so much for listening to this episode, supporting the show. Continue to do that. One last announcement is, whenever you're listening to this episode, if you're listening to this episode right now, it is, the 12th of February. We will be posting this. This series is going to take a little bit of a hiatus Brandon, who is in this episode and will be part of the other 3 sections, is actually going to Arizona. Pretty cool for his job. So he'll be gone from the 14th to the 23rd. So we won't be able to record these. But when he gets back, we are going to pretty quickly in succession on the 24th, 26th, and 28th finish up this series. So gives you time. Listen to this episode. Listen to some of the other things that we've done on Matt Goes to the Movies. If you like this and you see a movie that you want to hear our thoughts on, and again, leave those reviews. And in between part 1 and part 2 here, leave your list. Start thinking of them and give us your thoughts, because we'd certainly appreciate it. So new stuff coming from Matt Goes to the Movies really soon. But for now, thank you for listening, and we'll see you back here at Matt Goes to the Movies.